Greetings, mortals. Welcome to another session of the Infernal Court in Musical Hell. I'm Diva, your judge, jury, executioner, and colorfully costumed novelty act. Sometimes, you just can't win. Take our next offender, Can't Stop the Music. It was produced by Alan Carr, who just had a major musical hit with the movie Grease. It began filming in 1979 when both disco and its stars, gay fantasy group The Village People, were at the height of their popularity. It had a huge publicity campaign, including a one-hour TV special featuring guest stars such as Cher and Hugh Hefner. With that much momentum, what could possibly go wrong?
Oh, did you have to?
Well, for starters, director Nancy Walker and leading lady Valerie Perrin fought to the point where the cinematographer had to step in to direct Perrin's scenes. The Village People's lead singer, Victor Willis, quit the group right before production and had to be replaced by Ray Simpson. By the time the movie was released in 1980, the public had turned against disco with a vengeance. And, to top it all off, the movie partially inspired the annual celebration of rotten cinema known as the Golden Raspberry Awards, and won their very first award for Worst Picture. It almost seems a bit much for me to inflict further misery upon it after all that misfortune.
This is the 80s, darling. You're gonna see a lot of things you've never seen before.
But with lines like that, how can I resist? Let's examine the case of Can't Stop the Music. During opening titles that instantly camp the movie up more than The Birdcage and To Wong Foo Thanks for Everything Julie Newmar put together, we're introduced to a roller skating record store clerk called Jack Morrell.
If I ever needed to get off on time, tonight is the night. I mean, it's practically life or death.
Ugh, thank you so bloody much, Stonecutters.
Who makes ye Gutenberg a star?
Jack instantly earns sin number 1 with the combination of Gutenberg's performance and the character's general loathsomeness. He starts off by getting himself fired from his job, and the only question is why it didn't happen sooner.
Okay, Schultze, have it your way. But the next time you take inventory in here, you'll be counting the albums of Jack Morrell. Because I am a composer, not a schlepper salesman.
And then he celebrates by roller skating down the middle of a busy New York street and blocking traffic. Seriously, if you aren't hoping this guy will get hit by a bus before the opening credits are over, you have the patience of a saint. Even then you will be sorely tested by the combination of Jack's ego and the way everybody around him insists on bolstering it.
Jack, you were wonderful!
You really mean it?
Yes! Absolutely, you should be recorded.
The odd thing is that Jack Morrell is the movie's analog of Village People composer and impresario Jacques Morali. Since Morali helped produce the film, it's unlikely that he would allow it to paint an unflattering portrait of him, so the only logical conclusion is that he truly thinks Jack is a likable person. That shows poor judgment, but no worse than the average self-insert fanfic writer demonstrates on a regular basis. The reason why Jack has up and quit his job is that he has an opportunity to DJ at a club that night, which he's convinced will be his first step to being discovered and fame and fortune. He shares the good news with his roommate, ex-model Samantha, and their next-door neighbor Felipe, the Indian of the group.
Hey, Felipe, what are you doing up there?
My TV broke. I crawled in the window. It's all right, isn't it?
Get used to that, because sin number 2 is the terrible acting. You'd expect the Village People to be incapable of acting their way out of a wet paper bag, and you wouldn't be disappointed.
God, Leatherman don't get nervous. Leatherman don't get nervous.
Oh, yes, they do.
As if that wasn't enough failed crossover pain, we also have a former Olympic athlete, Bruce Jenner, as tax lawyer and Sam's love interest, Ron White.
I'm Ron White, your sister sent you a cake. A little old lady just robbed me.
But even the people who presumably do this acting thing for a living are lousy. You'd think that at least one minor character might have a decent line reading somewhere. No such luck.
Glad to
I
see
was
you.
leaving an audition this afternoon when I heard this great voice. It was him.
Jack's DJ gig is at a club called Saddle Tramps. Yes, really. Where Felipe also works as a dancer, waiter, rent boy, all of the above. After warming up the crowd, Jack introduces them to his own music via sin number 3, Samantha.
We're moving to the night, a symphony of fly with me, baby. You wanna see me cry? Well, can't you see that I need you now?
It's really weird to introduce Jack's supposed musical genius with this romantic come-on to his roommate, as nothing either before or after the song indicates that his feelings for Samantha are anything other than platonic. That's probably a good thing, as the lyrics would likely send her running in the opposite direction.
You owe it to yourself, with me and no one else. I love you, baby. Stop teasing me this way. Don't kiss and run away. Enjoy it, baby.
The conclusion of the song contains these weird flashes around the dancing clubbers. It's probably not a good idea to watch this scene if you're epileptic. Or if you're not epileptic. This one song convinces Sam that Jack should send his music to recording studios, but for all Jack's talk about wanting to be a big famous hit songsmith, he doesn't want to put in a whole lot of effort towards reaching that goal.
Sam, there's more to it than that.
Like what?
Like it's impossible. Look, nobody has time for anybody, and nobody gives new people a break.
He also needs actual singers to help him cut a demo recording. Luckily, they both happen to know Felipe, who just happens to have a lovely set of pipes.
Do I sing? Do I sing?
When I'm calling you.
And Samantha also just happens to have an aerobics instructor with a fondness for music and cowboy wear.
It's sort of like, got the backbone connected to the hip bone, and the hip bone connected to the thigh bone.
And she just happens to know a fellow model who dresses like a construction worker and wants to be a singer so badly he has an elaborate dream sequence production number about it.
I love you to death. I love you to death. I love you to death. Oh, baby, till there's nothing left. I love you to death. I love you.
At the demo recording party, Sam's token black friend just happens to show up because she just happened to meet singing police officer Ray on her way home from work and just happened to bring him along. Also just happening to be there are Sam's ex-boss Sydney, Sydney's oversexed assistant Lulu, Jack's mom played by June, hey, isn't she Gypsy Rose Lee's sister Havoc, and Ron, who just happens to turn up delivering a cake after he just happens to be mugged by an old lady in the middle of the street. Do you get the feeling that there's a lot of just happening in this movie? Good, because that's sin number 4. The story the movie tells just isn't very interesting. You know what Can't Stop the Music reminds me of? The Muppet Movie. Think about it. It's a heavily fictionalized account of how a group of diverse, colorful performers meet, form a bond, pursue the dream of making it big, and succeed beyond their wildest dreams. But that's where the similarities end. First, the Muppets have distinct characters and personalities, whereas the only thing that distinguishes the Village People from each other is their preference in fetish wear. Second, the Muppet Movie develops the concept better. It introduces each character in a unique way that fits them and gives them something to do in the plot. There are obstacles, an antagonist, and a variety of emotional beats that the story goes through. Because we care for the characters and watch them struggle, we want them to succeed and are happy when they do. Can't Stop the Music never thinks of anything to do with the Village People. In fact, they're secondary characters in their own story. Most of the focus is on Jack, Sam, and Ron, and they're a pain to be around. And it's not that much of a story. Even though most of the main characters quit their jobs in order to throw in with the new band, there's never any sense that there's any risk for them. There are obstacles occasionally, but they're done away with almost as soon as they're introduced, usually by somebody knowing somebody who just happens to have a solution to the problem at hand. Everything comes too easily for the protagonists, so there's no tension and no reason to root for them, even if they weren't all total asshats. The closest thing the movie has to true bad guys are the uptight squares and big industry muckety-mucks who sneer and act shocked at these hip young kids from Greenwich Village. The first of these is Ron, who gets really turned off at the dinner party because everybody's being all colorful and nonconformist, and also because they don't care about the fact that he was just robbed in broad daylight.
I don't understand why a good-looking girl like you is down here in the village with a bunch of... I don't know what!
But his indignation doesn't last any longer than the time it takes for Sam to give him the people should be free to express themselves telling off, so the very next time he meets her, he's practically falling over himself trying to apologize.
I'm a Gemini, I got 2 personalities. This is the good one.
Gemini my hoof, you're bipolar. Finally, Jack gets around to cutting a demo, which Sam then pitches to her ex, a doughy producer called Steve Waits. Steve's one personality trait is that he's constantly talking into his phone. Remember, this was back when only big-shot workaholics did that sort of thing. But Steve isn't interested in hearing from composers unless they've already got an act attached, so Sam decides to pitch her team of volunteer singers instead. And she basically seduces the still-smitten Steve into auditioning them, even though we just heard her complaining about other producers wanting to seduce her.
I saw a music publisher, a couple of talent agents, and a record company VP.
What'd they say?
Would I discuss it over dinner? It's the same old casting couch routine.
Later, she celebrates her conquest by spilling hot lasagna all over Ron's crotch.
Oh my God! Oh no! Oh my God!
Right, I'm calling sin number 5 on the humor attempts. They're too self-conscious. You can practically hear the rim shot they wanted to include after every punchline.
And he's going into the party business.
As in Tupperware?
How do you know my sister?
I live next door to her in St. Louis. She must have been 80 years old.
Oh, that's not my sister. She's older than...
The worst by far is Lulu, whose sole purpose in the movie is to be dumb and horny.
Housework is like bad sex. Every time I do it, I swear I will never do it again. Until the next time company comes.
Does anyone else keep expecting to hear Tim Curry's voice every time she opens her mouth?
Oh, Indian is hot. I go for exotic types, particularly when they're half naked.
He carries the Charles Atlas seal of approval.
So, in order to have a proper group to audition, Jack needs more singers. Luckily, Ron offers to let them hold tryouts at his uptight conservative law office. No, really, that's how they refer to it in the script.
This looks like one of these uptight conservative law offices.
Sam's token black friend comes through again.